Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. Thanks you all for coming out. It's been a very wonderful day today. Today we're going to have a panel with the cast of the Blair Witch Project. So we'd like to bring in Heather, Mike, and Josh. Yeah. So, yeah. Here we got Michael C. Williams. Let's see. Josh Leonard. Yep, Josh. Yep, Josh Leonard. And Heather Donahue. So wonderful to have you all here.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, what are all your names?
I actually think we know most of your names from signing things for you today, actually.
Yeah, thank you for showing up.
quiz.
Thanks for the support.
Absolutely. So let's rewind it back to 1998, 1999. There had never really been any kind of marketing like for the Blair Witch Project before. What was it like for the three of you in your personal lives when they started promoting the film?
You mean to be dead? How was that? Startling.
Yeah, it was curious, right? Because you couldn't celebrate it. It was exciting, but you couldn't celebrate it because you were kind of in the shadows, hiding, which helped it work, in fairness, obviously, right? That was the whole part of it. But, you know, and I'll be transparent, I don't mean to be like, oh, woe is me, but we were like overshadowed by the marketing for a long, long time. And like my argument is like, if we don't do our jobs and you don't believe us, there's no marketing. And I feel like that's kind of come around a little bit more in these later years, which is appreciated. But like, I get it too, because people didn't know what the hell to make of us because it had never happened before. And they're watching Cops and they're watching The Real World. And they're like, oh, I mean, I had major casting directors saying like, you tell me you were scared. Come on. I don't like not believing that we didn't just get dumped in the woods and get haunted by the directors. Like we knew every step of the way what was really happening. So it was exciting because we were young and it was like, wow, this thing is blowing up. It was scary, at least to me, because it was blowing up. And I didn't know what that meant. And then it was a little scarier because I think nobody else knew what it meant either. So that's a long answer to say, I don't know.
Thank you.
It was.
Yeah.
After the movie was released, there was like several like tie-in merchandise. Like there was computer games. Did you ever play the computer games?
Recently played the most recent one with a guy walking his dog on PS5 with my kids. That probably, when I say recently, 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah. But before that, not really. My daughter wanted to buy it. It was a fun game.
Right. There was, because they expanded, there was a lot of like legends and lore that they created around the Blair Witch, the legend, you know, in Burkittsville and everything.
Just real quick, to couch this discussion, I said beforehand, we've kind of come out with a more complete picture of what our history has been, which is like intense gratitude for the experience of making something that was really experimental and kind of walked this bleeding edge of whether it would work or not, which didn't mean whether it would work as a blockbuster film that, you know, and we would wind it, like that was never even a consideration. Right. We made a $30,000 experimental film with a bunch, like we were all in our early to mid 20s. And it was something that there wasn't really a template for. And I think for us as artists, that was a really exciting experience. And kind of owning the punk rock ethos that was the impetus for making it is something that we love talking about. The interactions that we've had with other creators and fans over the year is something that we are so deeply and dearly grateful for. Like being able to be here and meet so many of you guys 25 years after spending 8 days in the woods is really a surreal and blessed experience. The other side of that is we weren't involved in the marketing. We weren't involved in any way, shape, or form in any of the ancillary rights. We had nothing to do to so there's the creative side and there's the capitalism side, and we're not the people to ask about the capitalism side.
Right.
We're the people to ask about the film that we made.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when they presented the film to you, how did they approach you with being in this film where you were going to be like living in the woods and kind of making it yourselves? Like how did they approach you with it?
Open call, Backstage Magazine. So they didn't approach us as like, hey, we're interested in your services. We went on an open call with as many people as are in this room in a hallway, Lafayette Street, Manhattan, downtown. And we sit down in front of a few people behind a table, and they say immediately, they don't introduce themselves or tell us, okay, this is when the audition's going to start. They just start with, you know, for me anyway, you've served 15 years of a 20-year prison sentence. Please tell us why you think you're up for parole today. So you're instantly in the improv mode, which I had been trained as an actor and in SUNY New Paltz, upstate school in New York. And I had some really good training, and everything we did involved improvisation. So I felt really good about it. And by the way, the subject of the casting call was improvisational feature film to be shot in the woods. So we kind of knew what we were getting into. So for my experience was that the three of us didn't really even read together until like the second weekend. Like they just dwindled down this pile of people down to 4 or 5 of us. Josh and Heather had gotten the roles of Jane and John, and I was auditioning for the role of Bill. And there was the very last audition was like me and one other dude playing Bill. And those two were definitely cemented. So I would go into this room and we'd do this diner scene, and then I'd leave, and this other dude would go in and do the same scene. Then I'd leave. Then I'd go in and we'd do some I'm Lost in the Woods scary stuff, and then he'd go in. And I don't know whatever happened to the guy. I think his name is Bradley Pitt, but no, I don't know. I hope the guy is working because he was obviously good, but I was better. No. So that's our experience, though. It was open call, right? That's what it was. We were just all young actors, creatives, trying to get work in Manhattan. I know I was doing a lot of stuff for free, a lot of bad plays, a lot of bad little indie films. I was a production assistant trying to break in that way when all my friends were waiting tables and stuff. So I'm doing a lot of talking. I apologize, but that's kind of, it was not an approach. And then I'm just going to cut to why we used our names, which is a blessing and a curse, right? We didn't think anything of it. They said to us before we went down, we know you were cast as Bill, Jane, and John, but would you be interested, we'd love for you to use your own names if you're comfortable, because it would add to the authenticity of, if it's really stressful, it's easy just to say each other's names. In my mind, I'm like, I don't even really know these two people, so what difference does it make? But sure, I don't care. It's fine. You want to do it? That sounds great. That's one thing in hindsight. You go, I could just be Bill. And then when I'm on the road in the street, people would go, there's the guy who played Bill, not, hey, Michael Williams. So there's a different thing that happened with that experiment.
Right. Yep. Was there a favorite scene that you shot? Like, did you have one that stands out to you especially, like you connected to very emotionally? Care to share?
I mean, I would say the confessional scene in the tent for me. I did feel like,
come on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I feel like after we shot that, because we had been pulled out of the woods in Seneca Creek State Park, and then they put us in a car where we weren't supposed to talk to each other or anything, and they drove us to another park, Patapsco, which is where the house was. So we were like, okay. So then they had the tent set up, and then this was like. So I know we're kind of like obviously we're getting to the end, because Josh had already been pulled out, and we were like, that lucky bastard.
Yeah.
And
we knew it was the last day of shooting, right?
Right.
And
it was like,
days.
and it was like Halloween.
It was.
It was Halloween, because then we went to Denny's on Halloween, which was very funny. Sexy cats everywhere. And I guess then it was like the last note was basically like, yeah, you really fucked up, so say you're sorry, or it was something along those lines. And I was like, oh, okay, well here's here's obviously the juicy moment that I get.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, oh, nailed it. You know what I mean? But like, didn't realize like what that was going to be or how widely mocked. I think that was like very startling to me to have my name used and then to get the Razzie for Worst Actress that year and to have like stalkers and to have, you know, a gift basket.
Yeah.
You also didn't know that you hadn't framed your whole face.
I
in
had
that
no
shot.
idea because right. And this
There were
was
no
before
selfies back then.
Like there were not smartphones yet, so I didn't have like selfie.
You couldn't turn a screen
instincts.
even, right? It was just the eyepiece,
No,
wasn't it?
I
don't think there
it
was like
just
a
the
flip screen.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think it did flip because it was a really cheap camera.
And it was
wasn't
old.
even
It
a
was
high-8
'97.
camera.
Yeah.
But it was just like I knew I had been in the truth of it and like let my nose run, and I was like, in terms of like what would have been smart for a Hollywood career versus how I was trained as an actress, like it turns out to be an Hollywood ingenue. I had not nailed it, but for what I thought was true to my art, I had definitely nailed it.
I always thought.
And the film wouldn't have worked if you had done a different version. I mean that was.
If any of us had been like, oh, hang on, let me just, my mascara is under my eyes, you know, like that would not have been, not made sense.
Every time these guys talk and remember specifics about the shooting of the movie, what is going on in my head as you guys are talking is, I guess everybody wasn't as stoned in 1997 as I was.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, there was some stuff out there. You know, we foraged up some things.
And I think just also the moments when we went away from the suggestions that they made and we just like rolled, you know, like we were just playing, you know, like the scene where I'm against the tree and Josh is like, what's your motivation, Heather? I see why you shoot with this thing, you know, just like those kinds of like just working each other. Like that was so fun.
That was really fun.
It was really fun.
And the moments of just really, you know, we had a little prep time together, but we didn't have much.
No.
And so a lot of us getting to know each other both as people and as characters was kind of happening in medias res to this experience of making the movie. So some of the great inside jokes and the things that, like, just sitting around the campfire and shooting
that's
shit,
still
like
my
I
favorite line in the
love.
movie.
The skipper?
Yes, it was like, it's the skipper, you TV illiterate people.
I mean, it's just like, I'm like, what are they even saying to each other? There's no setup. We're just talking.
Like,
and
I really thought it was the captain.
You're just able to really kind of, you know, be yourself and have this relationship and then, you know, have fun pretending that you're being haunted. And I've been talking to people at the table and it's like, were you scared? It's like, well, you know, my job is to be scared. Otherwise, you're not going to be scared. So authentically, you're trying to believe in these imagined circumstances. And what better way to do it than to actually be out there and then have the trust of the two of them to just have this real, authentic relationship in which we could stop and go, hey, I want to try that again. We had code words to sort of stop and start again. So we had trust in each other. But like the scene of the map, which is totally based out of their argument and throwing the map away, was not planned. And I kick it and look at them and they're walking away. So now I have this nugget. But like Heather and I pushing and shoving and biting and all that, you can't do that as actors without trust. So then you break the scenario and it's like, hey, you all right? That was freaking awesome. Wow, I feel like it was so powerful. Not knowing what it's going to look like, right? But so it was just a wonderful experiment where three actors who didn't know each other got an opportunity to really trust one another in really harrowing situations that really was about our relationship together.
You almost just pitched the real world there.
Yeah.
You were so close. Like,
in the woods.
people
Fair.
stop being polite and start getting real.
That's right. Yes, how did you remember that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great sandbox.
Absolutely.
It was.
I was thinking we could probably open up for some questions from the audience. This gentleman.
Apparently, the producer said there's more scenes, like we haven't seen the full version.
I think we shot. I think we shot north of 20 hours of footage, and it's only an hour and a half movie. So, yeah,
It's
there's
out there.
There's 18 and a half hours out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll walk around with this.
Use your theater voices. You know what I mean? Who needs this?
Right there. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, the very end, I've been wanting to know this for so long. There's a scene where you're facing the wall. You're in the corner, facing
Yeah.
the wall. Was it the witch that told you to do that, or what? To this day, it's like
It was
what?
Greg Hale, the producer. I go downstairs. So my last note says, go all the way up. And I'm like, we just got in a car and went to a different stretch of woods. I'm like, why are we going to different woods? It's weird.
Yeah.
And we had walkies with the directors. So I got this note that said, go all the way up, wait till Heather joins you, and then leave her behind and go all the way down as far as you can, leaving her behind. What is this, a hill? I don't know what this means. So I'll walkie Ed Sanchez. I'm like, dude, I'm going to ruin the end of the movie. What is this? Where am I going? He's like, don't worry, you'll understand once you see it. I'm like, is it a hill? He goes, get off the radio, stop. Go to sleep. Heather's doing her confessional. Wake up, hear the boombox of Josh's voice going away from me. I'm like, oh, it's Josh's voice I have to follow. I see the house, I say this a lot, and I'm sorry if you heard it already, but the most authentic line I deliver in the entire film is, oh shit, it's a house. Because I'm like, damn, that's what it means, and this sucks. So I go up, she's screaming, I leave her behind, then I go all the way down. I get to the basement, not sure what's going to happen. I know they're going to be down there, and he grabs me and brings me to the ground, and I'm just like, I released like tears of joy. Like, we're done. This was so great. I'm so happy. And he's like, you're not done. Get in the corner. Get in the corner. Get in the corner. I'm like, what? Hurry up. She's coming. So I go stand in the corner, and she's screaming. I actually hit the button on the VHS, the high 8, so that killed the sound. So our source of audio was that high 8. So now there's no sound, and her CP16 light goes out, which I had forgotten. So there's 2 technical glitches. So we had to go back the next night and reshoot that scene.
After Denny's.
We also shot the scene, after Denny's. We also shot the scene running out of the tent a few times. But the filmmakers didn't even know why I was in the corner, right? And they're really smart people, and they created a really cool thing, but they did not know how to end this thing. And a couple nights before, they're like, what do we do? I remember them talking about this, like, let's just stand him in the corner. And so after the Sundance cut, when Artisan bought the film, they said, we need a payoff for that scene. So number 1, we shot me hanging on a stick man and levitating and all kinds of weird stuff. Crucified on a stick man. We obviously kept the original ending, but they also put in the middle of the film the kid in the yellow hat who says, Rustin Parr used to stand one kid in the corner while he killed the other one. So my imagination goes to Heather's character knows the legend of the Blair Witch the best, right? And so she knows that seeing me in the corner means she's going to die. That's my takeaway, but that's just my takeaway. So it's all open to interpretation.
One right here.
My question's for Heather. Your Wikipedia page is like, whoa, like you had to change your name because of, like, to Ray something.
Yeah, Ray Hance is what I go by.
That's so crazy, though. Like, were the stalkers really that intense after the movie?
Well, it's just
or?
after, like, if you don't get to use your own name for things without bringing all that baggage into it.
Yeah.
Like, it was like I was just kind of tired of people assuming that they knew me before they knew me. Do you know what I mean? And it turned out that strategy didn't really work. Thanks, Wikipedia. Yeah. But but it was worth a shot, you know. So it's like that was my maternal grandmother's maiden name and half the name that my Zen teacher gave me. So I was like,
still your name now, or are you back to Heather?
No, I prefer Ray, but in this kind of situation, I might as well use the name that's already been soiled. And I help run a town, and I had to put my legal name on the election ballot, so I guess I have ended up back as Heather by default.
We love you anyways, no matter who you are. We do.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a kid there, Wilder. I'd really like to hear his question because he's chill as hell.
I'll try to make it.
So I have a question for Mike.
I did not know that. Go ahead, bud.
Mike, why are you such a great actor?
Mike, are you the nicest guy on earth?
Mike, did you know you're the most handsome person I've ever met? Yes, Wilder. My daughter's name is also Wilder, so I got big
Why were you
feelings.
eating the dry leaf?
I thought maybe it would pay off, and it did. Like, we still had some food. They did dwindle our food over the course of the 8 days, which was pretty cool. They just make us uncomfortable. They always said, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you're never going to be in danger. And listen, if you broke a leg, that was a wrap. So we were trying to be as careful as possible. But the leaf was, you know, sitting on the ground next to me. I actually did eat it and ingest it. I knew it wouldn't hurt. But I just thought it would be something that a character who's been without food for days would have done. Even though that character knows, like, this isn't going to nourish me. It was just like a, you know, it's a good question, but I just feel like it fit the moment, and it stuck. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. So one gentleman up here, then.
Knowing what you know, guys know now, would you guys do the movie again?
I would use Bill. I would use Bill, and I'd sit back down at a table with somebody when it was taken off. Yeah.
It's such an impossible question to answer.
Is it?
It's like
No.
okay for me, yeah. Who the fuck knows what the last 25 years would have looked like if we hadn't done it?
I mean, I guess I'm grateful that it made me happy to leave acting. Do you know what I mean? It made me very, I wouldn't have the life that I have now. I might have still been like, one more year of like trying to make it in this industry. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, oh, if that's what making it looks like, I'm all set. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I can go,
Yeah.
you know, in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a complicated experience, and part of that was wonderful, and part of it was really hard, and it's so fascinating to, you know, we haven't been doing these conventions for a very long time, and to get like a few times a year to hang out with these guys who are literally the only two people in the world who were there and had this super fucking weird experience with me, and it makes you feel less crazy, and that's another thing that I'm deeply grateful for. So, but what would life have looked like without it? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Fucking internet wouldn't be so big, I'll tell you that much.
So I know it was an experimental film, and dumping actors in the woods and slowly limiting their food. That kind of movie probably wouldn't fly nowadays with proper set etiquette and actors' rights. Do you agree?
There was all that then too, but I mean, there's always going to be some young desperate kid who will do whatever.
Here's what I'll say: is there's a lot more accommodation in union contracts for low budget films now than there were at that point.
Yeah.
So there's every possibility that a film of that size could be covered by a union. And, you know, for better or for worse, from a creative standpoint, much better protection for the actors, the potential for less of that kind of bleeding edge experimentation that comes without it.
That's a very worthwhile trade for the lack of exploitation.
Yeah.
To lose some of the creativity in exchange for less exploitation.
I think culturally, and systemically, I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the movie, like watching it for yourself?
My chest hair.
The beginning. I love the beginning where we're in the motel room and we're buying
so good.
supplies. Like that whole section I just love.
Listen, talk about innocence. I still feel it when I watch
Yep.
it. Like, oh my God, we were so freaking excited.
Yep.
As actors, as characters, like, you know, we married that pretty quickly together. Yeah, that's a really, really fun moment. There's like a poetry slam that we did that's somewhere on YouTube, and you know, like we were just.
Is that really on YouTube?
Yeah,
Oh, gosh,
it's
is it
findable.
really?
It's findable.
Dude,
yeah.
shut your mouth.
Yeah, we gotta find it.
Please don't.
We kept going. There was a liquor store next door, and we went. There's just 3 of us. We went there twice in the same night. That's crazy. And then we went to a diner. I think just you and I went to the diner. He was asleep. I just remember it was like debauchery and a creativity and excitement.
I mean, you're like 23.
Oh, come
Like,
on. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I was 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greatest horror film of all time.
Oh, thank you.
I talk about it in my classroom, and for any other
In
educators.
your kindergarten class.
No, in my university classroom. Is there anything that you would want educators who talk about your film or show your film, you would want them to teach or say about your experience?
Well, I'm an educator now. I went back to school in my 30s and became a school counselor. So now I work with middle school kids. I still have my SAG card. I still act. I'm still creative. I have a little acting studio. But I had a lot of help growing up, and it was from my school system. So I'm in this position to be able to give back. And I don't know that this will equate, but what I would say is, and look, we are here in what we're doing sort of publicly lately, which is sort of very freeing. Talking about artists' rights and young creatives' rights and how to take care of yourself and to not like sort of buy into this you have to be this starving artist person. Like the state school I went to was very hippy dippy, and it was like you're gonna struggle and it's gonna be cool and you're gonna have no money, and that felt really like, you know, right? And I wish I could go back and be like, no. When you create something that's worthwhile, you make sure that you are part of the end product of that creation. And the other thing I would say in education, which I don't care if you're going into creative field or you're going into business or you're going to be a fishing guide or you're going to be a builder or you're going to run a town, like you have to, you're the only one that's going to lay your head on the pillow at night. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's going to tell you, no, you can't do that without saying, no, you can't do that. People place everything about their own lives and expectations on you. And so as an educator, I think it's important to be like, you make your own expectations and you follow through your own expectations, and it's only you ever. And you have to believe in yourself. And it sounds so trite to say, but I believe that you have the power to control your destiny with wherever you come from, whoever you are. I really, truly, emphatically have seen it happen in my life, with my own life, and with people around me. And those who say I can't, won't. That's important to know. And so tell your students, you either can say I am, or you can say I am not. And I would lead with I am, always, if you're trying to get somewhere from point A to point B.
So you have time for one more question. I saw one gentleman.
I just want to add, because I love that question and I love
Yeah.
the education aspect. I remember talking to a friend of mine who's a successful artist at one point, and him saying like when you're doing an interview, when you're answering a question, when you're doing an interview for a magazine, when you're talking about this stuff, you make it sound like there was a logical narrative over the course of a life, and that one thing led to another, led to another. I continued to make films for 25 years. I was involved in over 100 productions. I'm here talking about this one. I'm very proud of some of the other things that I did. None of them will have a 25th anniversary screening. So like, and there is one level, like there is this public notion of success and failure that has nothing to do with the path of a lifetime. and pursuing what you're passionate. Like the fact that we're here because this film worked we happened to hit 1,000 bullseyes in a row, like, and that had nothing to do with our value or our talent or like. I guess that's what I'm saying is the thing that I always try to pass along, and as Mike said, to young artists, but to my daughter, to anybody, is like you don't the validation is gonna come and is gonna go. Like that's not why you do it. You do it to try to find your own voice, to try to find your own humanness.
Yeah. It was like, because I think like, I felt like we had done a good job. And then I think particularly at that time, just to realize that part of the success of this movie meant that I was like personally threatened, personally mocked, personally, like I received like a lot of that backlash. And so at the time it felt really unjust and crazy and like just grossly unfair. But boy, did that set me up for being in the arena and like never being afraid to put myself out there, to know that like, you know, that whole like Roosevelt thing, like the man in the arena is going to take a lot of shit and like forget about it because it's the cowards that are watching that are the only ones throwing the shit. So just keep doing what you're doing, you know, keep showing up, just keep showing up. And I think that is like really my takeaway. Like I had a total plot twist of like being in local government now, and like somebody threatened to kill my dog last week. Like it's like somebody is always going to have something to say about what you're doing, and that has nothing to do with what you're doing. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them, and it's like just keep going, and doing that next right thing. Like might not even look like, it might not even be something you want. It might be totally misaligned with your preferences, but you know in your heart it's the next right thing. And that to me is like the ultimate compass, you know, like it keeps twisting and twisting and twisting, and I'm like, oh, okay, well I guess that's what we're doing now. Like it just doesn't have to make sense, you know?
Right.
It's so weird.
Especially to other people.
No, exactly. And I think that, to me, like that's my big takeaway from Blair Witch is just being like, yeah, who cares? Success is really relative, you know?
Man, is it?
Hello. I have a question, and I guess it's for all three of you. So there's a scene where you guys are investigating the graveyard, and there's a pile of rocks. And I forget which character it is, but one of you falls into the rocks and knocks a couple of the rocks over. And then that night, that's when everything bad starts happening. And Heather's character says something about Mary Brown saying something about a quote about the Bible and about something about a pile of rocks. And the quote that I believe it's from, it says, "This pile of rocks and this rock set on end will remind us of our agreement. I will never go past this pile to hurt you, and you must never come to my side of them to hurt me." Did the writers ever say anything about what caused the witch to, I guess, come after you guys? Was it just being in the woods, or did they say anything about knocking the rocks over?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think we didn't get that involved in the mythology or the lore of what happened. Most involved would have been Heather's character, who did a bunch of research, did all the writing for all the pieces that you see shot on 16. But as far as specifically the pile of rocks, like I think their idea is you're sort of in this, I know they talked about like this timeless loop, that you're sort of trapped and stuck in there, but like sort of the precipice or the moment that the witch decides to haunt us, it's never been revealed to us that it was the rocks. That quote that you just had, I've never heard. So I feel like they definitely would have shed that, at least even after the fact. It's a good question, and it's cool because, like, you know, the experience of the people who watch the film are to think about what is happening and create your own narrative, which is why it messes with your head. Just like her question about why do you wind up in the corner, like because the producer told me to get there, right? So that's one of the things that I love about being a part of it is people have their own narrative behind it and read into things. And then just like own it. So like we all own this thing. It's not just us, it's you guys. You own it just as much as we do. You own the story like we do, right? We're all telling this story that you guys sort of took over and ran with. So I don't think...
And that's something that we can all relate to with art that has affected us in our lives is, taking that. All right, I'm done. I don't have anything.
No, you do.
No.
They couldn't hear you.
No, I was just saying that's that the mythology, like the life that this has had outside of the thing that we created, is radical and is something that I think I've certainly had as a fanboy to art that's affected me is like, you take something and you find the parts that are deeply personal to you that might not have been the intention of the artist at all, but they mean everything to you, and it feels like, so it's a cool Mobius strip to be involved with. And as you were asking that, I was like, this is such a fascinating question, and none of us are going to have a satisfying answer to it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. But Josh's backpack did get covered in KY jelly.
Yes. It was my KY jelly. Just kidding, Wilder. I'm joking. God.
Okay.
The one thing I'd like to say, because I look like he's going to say, stop talking now, is I'm going to speak for myself because we never try to speak for all three of us. And that is that, it's like, it's your story and it's our story and it's a shared thing. And Josh talks about a quote about sharing art between strangers, which I love. And it's not Walter Hobbs, but
Walter Hobbs, LA gallerist from the 70s. Art offers the possibility of love between strangers.
I love it.
That's so good.
And what I want to say about it is now we shared this experience 25 years ago and 10 years ago and 15 years ago. And for us to kind of do sort of what we're doing, and I give Josh and Heather a lot of credit for kind of spearheading, really Heather for a long time saying the sort of wrongs that have been done or the things that feel like maybe there's a yes and it was also tough. She's had that narrative. And Josh picked it up recently, and I've kind of, to be honest, I'm always like, I'm just going to put it away somewhere because I went through a lot of shit with this, and I'm just going to put it away and be positive and move forward, and that's also an approach, but I'm just grateful for them to kind of carry that torch into this new, like, openness, and the fact that we've been open with you all as fans as far as socially and online and all that. What I want to say is that art is this experience of love between strangers. What I really feel the empathy, not only online, but just in the room. Like, this is a very different Q&A than probably some of you might not have any idea what's going on, and that's fine. But just thank you for your empathy. And I know, like, we were involved in something that maybe people just wish they could have that opportunity. Please, that's all I ever wanted. And so it's hard to sort of shit on it, right? You don't want to do that. Want to be respectful of people's hopes and dreams. But just want to say that thank you for also sharing this experience with us, because it seems like in the room there's an energy of, like, we got your back, and we totally appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Yep, we're good. So, yep. Thank you all. Yep.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Blair Witch 25.
Thank you, guys. Let's take another selfie.
No, keep clapping. Keep
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you around. We'll be back downstairs all day tomorrow.